What are we doing?
Well, trying to figure out a notch for the snail mail. We have the knowledge.
Because God knows I don't have it. All right, so my buddy Brandon over at Turner Design Works came through in a big way this morning. We designed these plates the other night for our C-notch. And he's got the plasma table, so he cut me out some notches, bent me up the little flat bottoms there. So these guys are ready to get figured out where they're gonna fall. I gotta make sure I get the rear end located properly in the frame. But we're going to start cleaning up this frame, getting the rust and scale off of it, and clean these guys up and start tacking them in so that we can get this thing sitting down. It's got to go down. This is going to be ride height roughly, and it needs to go down about 6 3/8 of an inch in order for it to sit rocker or body or whatever the hell you want to call it. So we're going to get started cleaning this stuff up and throwing some sparks around in the garage. We need to get the rear end cleaned up the rest of the way. Did make some improvements over here in the body, and by improvements I mean we just hacked some stuff out of the way. I got the rear wheel well opened up there, and then opened up all this area in here so that we could get the front wheels in, and then also threw the mock-up block in there, and actually gonna have a little bit more room than I thought we were gonna have. So that's a positive. So we're gonna basically, I think we're gonna be able to make this work. Don't know where we're gonna put the turbos. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other night. He was sitting around having a beer, hanging out in the garage. And we kind of talked about maybe doing the turbo inlet back here. So you'd have the turbo here inside and just pipe up some exhaust to the turbo, come down with a dump probably out the side here. Because I don't know that I'm going to have enough room inside there for the turbos. So it might be kind of cool. I would really love to be able to see the turbos from the outside of the car. So I think it would be pretty cool to have like the inlet of the turbo sticking out right here with like a turbo guard or something on it. So yeah, we'll figure that out. Maybe I can get a different bulb in here on this one, so it'll have the brake lights and the running lights, because I'm assuming one of these is brake lights. Maybe one of them's turn signals, but maybe we can wire this up so it can have your turns, brake light, and running light all in one shot, and then use that hole down there for our turbo inlet. I think that'd be pretty cool. It'd help me out a ton with room, because there's zero room up there, and we're trying to stuff a damn 6-liter in a hole that doesn't belong. So these are all ideas. We've been spitballing around, but we do have notches. Talked to Brandon quite extensively the last couple days about 4-link, and I think we're getting narrowed down to what we're gonna go with. I don't think we're gonna have enough room for a triangulated 4-link in there, just because there's no way to really mount anything over here that well. But we'll see once we get it notched and dropped. I think this center cross member is going to have to go and be moved forward, so we'll build a new one of those out of some 2x4. Although Brandon did say he could cut some plates out on the plasma table so it'd have a nice arch in it and arc up, and then possibly maybe use that as a drive shaft safety loop, and or possibly it might be the rear tranny cross member, because that's going to be about where the transmission is going to end. So lots of ideas up in the air, still trying to get it all dialed in, but we're making progress, and I'm learning a lot along the way, figuring out that I don't know near enough about any of this stuff. So let's start throwing some sparks. right, guys, so we got the notches tacked in place. Everything's good and level across. I'm gonna go ahead and use this guy as a spacer here to clamp that together. I'm gonna come in here and weld in here and then weld down this side. Notches were a little short for what we needed. I'll cut a little nugget of metal, fill that in there, so that'll be nice and solid. But I will get these welded on the outsides and then on the insides, and then we'll start capping this area in here, and then we'll hack the frame out. Yeah, boy. Friggin' boys are outside rip roaring on the mopeds. All right, guys, so I was over here welding these guys in, and everything was going pretty good. And I'm pretty new to welding with a gas welder. You know, the welds are looking pretty good for being in tight spots. It's getting a little smoky in here, and so I went over to this side, and I'm kind of embarrassed to even show these, but so I started trying to weld this up, and it just looked like shit. I could not figure out why there was so much porosity in my welds. I kept changing things, turned the heat up, turned blobs up, started going over it multiple times, changing things with the welder, and it just kept having more and more porosity and looking like hot trash. So did a little bit of research, kind of tried to figure out what all could cause porosity, dirty welds. I cleaned the metal off, so I didn't think that was the issue. Too much gas, that wasn't the issue. One of the major issues was airflow. So I had turned the fan on after I'd welded those guys in right there, and everything was working pretty well. And I'd turned the fan on to kind of just suck some of the fumes and smoke out of here. And that was enough to draw the gas, the shielding gas, away from the weld and make it just look like hot trash. So what I did is I came back after doing that garbage, no fan on, and just adjusting the settings, and was able to get the welder to weld like that. And that is what I was hoping for the whole time. And even then, I think the wire speed's probably still a little high on that, but that's a hell of a lot better than that. So I'm learning as I go. I'm trying this shit out. You know, I'm a freaking flux core welder to the heart, and shielding gas is a completely new thing to me. So apparently airflow does have a big part to play in the quality of your weld. So I could probably turn up the gas flow a little bit on the C25 to kind of compensate for that. But yeah, I think we're gonna try to keep the fan off for primarily most of the welding I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind all that shit down and out, and then we'll come back and lay a good weld down. Porosity doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna have a bad structural weld. It just looks like hot garbage, and I'm not really wanting to have this look like hot garbage. I've got a lot of friends that weld, and if I were to show them this, which they'll probably see it on the internet now that I recorded it, they would laugh and spit upon me. So I can't be having anybody spatting upon me, so I'm gonna go ahead and grind those down, try to clean this up. We're gonna get the welder dialed in and try to weld the rest of these bad boys in. So let's get to it.